Okay, let's unpack this. We're embarking on a deep dive today into a place that holds just an incredible amount of history and culture, Syria. And we're using a fascinating article as our guide here.
Right, and this source, it paints a picture of Syria not just, through the lens of recent challenges, but really as a land of profound historical depth.
Yeah.
It calls it a cornerstone of the ancient world, highlighting its status as home to some of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth.
And what's particularly interesting, I thought, was the context this article sets. It suggests that despite years of hardship, Syria is cautiously opening its doors again.
Yeah, cautiously is the word.
It's presented almost as this hidden gem for people specifically seeking, authenticity, deep history, rich heritage.
And that really frames our mission for this deep dive, doesn't it? We'll be exploring why this article suggests someone might visit Syria. Looking at the top destinations it highlights, diving into the practical advice it offers for planning a trip, and covering those essential cultural tips too.
And the thing the source really emphasizes, is that sheer depth of history. It leans hard into Syria as this melting pot of civilizations.
It does.
You've got the layers left by Mesopotamians, Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans. Each one leaving their mark.
It's fascinating how the article expands on that melting pot idea. It's not just a list, right?
Yeah.
It's about how these successive cultures built upon and transformed everything, the landscape, the architecture, the traditions. It creates this incredibly dense historical tapestry you can still, see and feel today.
And the article also points out the varied landscapes. It talks about everything from deserts.
Yeah, arid deserts, fertile plains, even the Mediterranean coastline. It suggests quite a diversity of scenery for travelers.
Okay. And practically speaking, it addresses the travel context pretty directly.
It does, while definitely stressing the absolute importance of monitoring current travel advisories, which is, let's be clear, crucial for anyone even thinking about this trip.
Absolutely essential.
It does highlight that guided tours and organized travel packages are making visits possible right now for those who are prepared.
So who does the article suggest would really connect with a trip like this? Who's it for?
Well, it points towards history enthusiasts, definitely. Spiritual seekers, cultural explorers.
So if any of that sounds like you listening, the insights from this deep dive are probably worth paying close attention to.
Which, naturally leads us to exploring some of the key destinations this source highlights.
Okay, let's start with the big one. The place the article calls the Eternal City, Damascus.
Yes, introduced as one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, often nicknamed the Pearl of the East.
Right.
The article describes its old city, that's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, as this kind of maze of winding alleys, ancient mosques, historic churches, traditional Damascene homes.
And the must-visit sites, it points out. The Umayyad Mosque really stands out.
Huge.
Picture one of the largest and oldest mosques in the world. And it wasn't just a mosque originally.
No, that's the layer thing again. It was a Roman temple first, then a Byzantine church before becoming the mosque. That's exactly the kind of layered history the source keeps talking about.
Incredible. What else in Damascus?
The article also mentions the Azim Palace. It serves as this beautiful example of 18th century Damascene architecture, really showcasing that style.
Okay. And then there's the more sort of sensory experience, the Souk al-Hamidiyya.
Oh, yeah. Described as a bustling traditional market, just overflowing with spices, textiles, handicrafts.
Yeah.
You can imagine the atmosphere.
Definitely. Okay, so moving north from Damascus, the source takes us to Aleppo, calls it the trade capital of history.
Another really ancient city, hugely significant for trade and culture throughout history.
And the article acknowledges the reality, right, that much of Aleppo faced terrible damage during the conflict.
It does, but it's careful to mention that significant restoration efforts have been underway. They're bringing life back to many of its iconic landmarks.
That's good to hear. What are the key sites there?
Well, the big one is the Aleppo Citadel, this massive medieval fortress overlooking the city.
Okay. And the market?
The historic covered market, the Al Medina Souk, also undergoing restoration.
Right.
And the Great Mosque of Aleppo, which is presented as a real symbol of the city's enduring Islamic architectural heritage.
Okay, so from these major historic cities, the article then guides us out towards the Syrian desert, to Palmyra.
Often called the Bride of the Desert.
Sounds evocative.
It was positioned as this vital Roman-era caravan city right there in the heart of the desert landscape. The source describes its ruins as nothing short of awe-inspiring.
Wow.
And it notes that restoration work is continuing there as well, trying to piece things back together after recent destruction.
And the sites you absolutely have to see in Palmyra, according to the article.
The Temple of Bel, the Monumental Arch, and the huge Roman theater. You really get a sense of the scale of this ancient desert metropolis.
It sounds breathtaking. Okay, heading south now, the article introduces Basra, nicknamed the Black Gem. Why black?
Because of the stone. The city's unique appearance comes from the distinctive black basalt stone used extensively in its construction.
Interesting.
And it's famous for its remarkably well-preserved Roman theater.
Right, and the article makes this fascinating point that it's still in use today.
Isn't that amazing? Imagine attending a performance in a theater that stood for nearly 2,000 years.
Unbelievable. So key sites in Basra are that Roman theater.
The theater, the broader ancient city ruins around it, and remnants of Byzantine churches and mosques, again, showing those layers the source keeps referencing.
Okay. From the south, the source then takes us high up into the Kalman Mountains to a place called Malula.
Described very evocatively, associated with the living language of Jesus.
This is where the article presents that truly, breathtaking detail. Malula is one of the very few places left in the entire world where Aramaic,
the language believed to have been spoken by Jesus,
is still used in daily life. It's spoken there.
Wow. That's a truly powerful living connection to an ancient past, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The article also mentions its sort of picture-perfect monasteries and these cliffside homes built right into the rugged landscape. Very striking visually.
And the specific sites highlighted there.
The monastery of St. Thecla and the monastery of Saints Sergius and Bacchus kind of nestled among the cliffs.
Okay. And finally, one more major site the source points to. Crac des Chevaliers.
Yes. Renowned as the Crusader Castle.
A UNESCO World Heritage Site, right?
Correct. And described by the article as, frankly, one of the best preserved medieval castles anywhere in the world, just incredibly intact.
Where's it located?
It's near Homs. And the article adds that its position offers these sweeping panoramic views of the surrounding countryside. Gives you a real sense of its strategic importance throughout history.
Okay, so we've explored the incredible historical why and the iconic where, according to this source. A lot to take in.
Definitely.
Now let's shift gears a bit to the practical side. How does the article suggest someone might actually go about planning a trip like this?
Right. Well, first, it reiterates the need for careful research and staying updated on travel safety. That foundation is just non-negotiable.
Understood.
But then it moves into how the logistics can be managed. It suggests that today, a lot of the complexity can actually be handled online using integrated platforms. It mentions tools like FlightNHotels.com as examples.
So simplifying things.
Yeah, the point the article seems to be making is that platforms like this consolidate things. They let you compare flights from multiple airlines, find and book accommodations, even arrange car rentals kind of all in one place.
So it's framed as a way to make planning more efficient, maybe more budget-friendly.
Exactly. Saving time and money by consolidating your search and booking. Whether you're planning, say, a solo historical tour, or maybe a photography expedition, or even a group heritage journey.
Okay. Does it give advice on the best time to visit?
It does, based on the climate. It suggests spring, so roughly March to May, and autumn, September to November. That's for generally mild and pleasant weather.
Makes sense.
It does warn, though, that summers can be intensely hot, particularly in those desert regions like Palmyra, and winters can actually bring snow to the mountainous areas, like around Malula.
Good practical details. And it also includes some cultural etiquette and travel tips to keep in mind.
Yes, some specific points aimed at ensuring respectful and safe travel. First, dressing modestly. That's recommended to respect local customs, especially when you're visiting religious sites like the Umayyad Mosque.
Okay, respect is key. What else?
Learning a few basic Arabic phrases is highlighted. The article says it's genuinely appreciated by locals and, can be very helpful, particularly in markets or souks.
Good tip.
And, as we mentioned earlier, but it bears repeating, staying updated on travel advisories is paramount. Checking with your country's foreign office before you book, before you go, and even during your trip. And finally, the source strongly suggests using guided tours.
Ah, interesting. Why specifically?
Well, it indicates that many areas are simply best accessed and experienced through licensed local tour operators. That's both for safety considerations, clearly, but also for gaining those crucial historical and cultural insights from someone knowledgeable, someone on the ground.
Right, getting that deeper context. Okay, so synthesizing the picture painted by this source, it really presents Syria as a kind of a living museum.
That's a good way to put it. A place where incredibly ancient cities, timeless architecture, and these resilient people and traditions, they aren't just relics, they're part of the ongoing present.
It really reinforces that powerful idea of having a direct, almost tangible connection with one of the world's most ancient and layered civilizations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to recap the core idea from this article, Syria is presented as a destination truly unlike any other. Still navigating recovery, certainly, but with this incredibly strong cultural heart that continues to beat.
And the source emphasizes that immense depth of history found there, and also the remarkable resilience of its people and traditions. That seems to be a real thread running throughout the article's descriptions.
Yeah, it goes through strongly. And this leaves us with a thought drawn directly from the narrative this source weaves about the past meeting the present.
Mm-hmm.
What does it truly mean for places like these? Places with such profound, layered histories that have witnessed empire after empire rise and fall. What does it mean for them to navigate the complexities of the modern world?
It's a huge question.
And what can we learn about the enduring legacy of human civilization itself, maybe about the incredible resilience of culture and identity, by witnessing it firsthand in a place that has, in many ways, seen it all?